And welcome to Beyond the Broomstick, that podcast that opens up the opportunities and the possibilities that spirituality can bring to you in your everyday life. I'm back. It has been 4 weeks since I have recorded a podcast. For those of you that don't know, I have had major surgery. I had spinal fusion surgery on the 7th of November, and it's a long recovery. I had planned just to take a couple of weeks off and then realised how ridiculous that was. So although I have been over on my Patreon, updating them and doing things with my Patreon page, I really haven't had a chance to record a podcast. So I am back. This is season 3 of Beyond the Broomstick. I am blown away by the fact that I started this little odd podcast in January of this year with the intention of sharing my lived experience of evidential mediumship, helping people understand what to expect on social media, what to look out for, how to choose the right medium for them. And it has really evolved. And this season, I am bringing to you interviews with people that have had readings with me and experienced that and what it has meant to them and how it maybe has changed the outlook on their lives. Today, we have an interview with the wonderful Danielle Frank, who has had 2 readings with me. She is an entrepreneur, has her own podcast that came out this week, and I will link all that in the bio, but she has really embraced spirituality for quite a long time. So we're going to talk to her about her journey, which will be incredibly interesting. I'm also going to talk about the US election, do that at the end of the podcast, and go into some information about how to really work on your mindset and talk about being able to hold your consciousness. It's incredibly important in the coming 12 months that people are able to really incorporate positivity and mindset changes into their lives. I'll talk about that a little bit later, but my job as a psychic medium is really to help people evolve into what they really need. So we are going to be touching on that. I'm also going to do my Patreon only shout-outs. There is a lot of them. Anyone that doesn't like the Patreon shout-outs, please just, go through and pass through them, because there are hundreds of them. I am incredibly grateful for everyone that has joined my Patreon page. It's building a wonderful community that is incredibly important. I have talked about community endlessly, and that the reality of the situation is that you need to be surrounding yourself with people that support you, irrespective of who your government is. That goes worldwide, not just for the US. Community is going to be what gets you through. And if you don't have a community, build one. It's so easy to do with social media. And I'm not just talking about TikTok. We've got Facebook. We've got, is it Blue Cloud? I can't remember the name of it. There are various organizations, groups you can set up yourself. Yeah, so my last 4 weeks has been, recovering from surgery. Everything went well. I have to give a massive shout out to all of my wonderful healers out there that sent me remote healing. I really didn't have a huge amount of pain. I was up and walking within hours, albeit with a walking frame. I was home on day 4. I've been well cared for and well looked after. but my goodness, am I frustrated. My mind is willing to get back to work, but my body isn't necessarily able. I'm finding sitting for a length of time very frustrating. So if you're having readings with me over the next couple of weeks, expect me to be walking around my house. A, to get my steps up. B, walking is healing for me. It helps rebuild bone. And C, I can't sit. It is painful after a period of time. Last week was a big week for me. I went on my first excursion. I went to see Wicked. Yay. Shout out to anyone that has been to see it. I loved it. I've wanted to see the musical for years and never got to. And I went to Gold Class cinemas. So we have in Australia, we have these amazing cinemas where you have a recliner and they come out and bring you food and drink during the movie. There's only, I think, 15 people in that particular cinema. So I took the wonderful Naomi with me and we had a blast. Then there was something else that I did last week that was, I was back at work. So I was doing a reading every single day. I'm not back really full time until this week where I have my 4 readings 3 or 4 days a week. And I can't remember what else it was I had to do last week, but I did something else. And then on Sunday, happy news for our household, my youngest son proposed to the wonderful Lily, and they are now engaged. This has been in the planning for so long. Lovely, lovely story around this where Charlie came to me about 6 months ago and said, I really want to propose. And I said, great. And he said, what do you think of this ring? He'd designed a ring. He'd been to a ring designer. And I said, that's beautiful. And then I had my mother-in-law come into my ear and say, get him to go to his dad's. I had a ring like that. And I had never seen my mother-in-law's jewelry. She was a very, very countrified woman. She didn't wear jewelry. The days when I saw her, it wasn't her thing. And about an hour later, I had a photograph sent to me from my son with the exact ring that he had designed. So he was able to use some of the stones from his grandmother's ring to design the ring for Lily, which was lovely. And I've been keeping that secret for 6 months. And he had planned the whole day around her. And very sadly, her father died 2 weeks ago. It wasn't unexpected. He had been very, very ill for a very, very long period of time. And there was then, do I, don't I, do I, don't I? And the decision to do it was made. And I think it was for the best. It was the best thing that could have happened. It was after all of the ceremonial stuff for her father, and she was able to get that closure. And then they went out for a beautiful day and a scavenger hunt picnic, and he produced a ring. I made him record it. I must be a terrible mother, but it was sort of partly for me because I wanted, I don't know why I wanted to see it, but I did. And I did say, from my point of view, I think Lily will want to remember it. You will have photographs, but if you can get it recorded, I think it will be a beautiful thing. And he did, and she had no idea. And I watched the video. Obviously, it's not something that I would ever make public, but the video had so much love in it. And she was so surprised and so excited. And you could feel the love coming through the screen. So I am incredibly glad that he did that for both of them. That is a memory that they can keep forever. So that's been exciting in my house. I'm trying really hard to manage between relaxing my spine, which is lying down. I can start at the pool today. The physio has said that I can start going to hydro pools. So I'm going to do that this afternoon because I know it will knock me out. I had my first outside walk, so walk in the wild yesterday. I've been using a walking pad because I do actually live on like a double hill. There is no way that I can come up that hill. I can walk down it, but coming back up, They might need a hoist. So I haven't been able to, because I haven't been able to drive, I haven't been able to go out for walks. And yesterday, after I went to physiotherapy, my ex-husband took me for a walk with the buff, who I miss dreadfully. He's staying with my ex-husband at the moment and comes back to me on days when I have a dog walker or one of my boys comes and stays with me. And I miss him dreadfully, but I cannot manage him alone. I'm not allowed to bend, twist, or what's the other thing? Bend, twist, or lean, I don't know, whatever the other one is, for 3 to 6 months. So, yeah, it's long, and I know you're bored of it, and I know everyone is bored of hearing about it, but next year is a new year. Got some exciting courses planned for next year, which will be great. But let's get on to today's episode. I'm going to start off by the first round of Patreon shoutouts for new members. Please, as I say, always just scroll on if you don't want to hear them. If you join Patreon, which is becoming a beautiful community, there's a lot of extra content on there. You get early release to all of my readings, which tend to go within 48 hours. There are discounts for readings. There are newsletters. I do a Patreon-only podcast. All of my predictions go up there. And I'll talk about social media a little bit later in the episode. But I've been really pulling away from social media. I will still be on there, but it's just, yeah, I'll talk about that a little bit later. So let's start with our newest Patreon members. We've got Beth, Katie W., who has joined for 12 months, Kathy Bassett, who has joined for 12 months, Crystal L., Jack, John Lark, who joined for 12 months, Kim, who joined for 12 months, Ashley, Elsie, Tammy, T. Butler, Colleen, Mama Hen, Crazy Alicia, Irma, Stephanie, Heather Loris. This is some bullshit. Tracy, Karen Tucker, Jennifer Lovato, who has joined for 12 months, Archer Williams, Ola, Nikki, Siddy, Jace, Jackley, CM Cordill, Mojo90, Rhonda Lewis, Claire, Terry Scott, Sin Girl or Cinny Girl, Sunshine, who has joined for 12 months, Megan, Mel Ortiz, Cam, Carrie, Kristen, Danielle, Alexis A, Just Us Three, Erica, Jay, Mick Reeb, Cheryl, Satin Holland, Jackie, Cat's Pajamas, Ciara Ashton, Isabel Rolls, Connie, Jenna, Debbie, Cynthia, Joan, Cecilia Knott, S, Maeve, JDTRS, Cece, Shauna Noel, Vanessa, DB Miss, Abby Shaban, Angel Goudry, Lauren, Diana Gelos, Deborah Oliver, Terry Anderson, Schlader, Lindsay, Monique, Abby, Casey, Marg, Christian Hembry, Lauren, Siobhan, Debbie, Emily McDonald, Patty Gibson, Crystal, Denise, Ty, Madison, Patty, Terry Davies, who's joined for 12 months, Marky, Olivia, Lindsay, Olivia Offline, Michaela Cooper, who has joined for 12 months, Brittany, Ingrid, Rosa Tyser, Maine Kuhn, Ozzy King, Paula, Chrissy T, Natalie King, who's joined for 12 months, Chicky, who has joined for 12 months, bear with me, Ali Lover, who has joined for 12 months, Shay, Avery, Emily Campbell, Moe, Nikki Watson, Shirl Lloyd, who has joined for 12 months, Laurie Quinn, Chelsea, Anna De Silva, Nicole Anderson, Maggie Reese, Shanna, Carol Middleton, Kay Martin, Pamela, Ira, Lab Manager, Kim, Autumn Hodock, Jenna, Sarah, Anna Maria, Elizabeth, Lynn, Upsetti, Brandy, Erin Kate, Christopher Hutchinson, Erin R, Sarah A, Kristen Harvey, Yvette Rodriguez, Debbie D, Tammy Sullivan, Alison Showell, Jamie, Stacey, Andrea, Caitlin, Marianella, who was joined for 12 months, Maeve, Claire, Ashley, Rebecca O'Sullivan, Vicky Moulds, Teresa, who was joined for 12 months, Tonya W, and D. Gurley. I'm going to leave that there and I'm going to jump back on. There will probably be 3 lots of thank yous this month because I received over 500 new members over the last 4 weeks. Thank you. You guys rock. Without Patreon members, I would be unable to do my podcast. The support that you give me is just amazing. And I really want you to understand how important you are to me. One of the topics I really want to raise today is really the mindfulness and helping you sit in your own consciousness. I saw the result of people that are unable to hold their own consciousness, that are unable to understand, I suppose, a little bit of critical thinking, be aware of other people when the outcome of the election happened. And as I say, I will talk about that in a little bit more detail. But from my point of view, I was very clear that I said Trump would call the election early and that the outcome would happen towards the end of November. Yeah, I was wrong on the date, but I will tell you now that there is something happening in December, January. I've already spoken about that on my Patreon page, and after I've talked about mindfulness, we will talk about it. But the reaction from people who don't know me, haven't followed me, or were following me just for the predictions. I do a lot more than predict. My original prediction was that there would be no election. I felt, even though I thought I knew Biden wouldn't be the candidate, and I said that last year, I felt there wouldn't be an election. Now I see why. I saw that because I do feel that it would either be annulled or something else coming in. But people reacting on social media, the death threats, the nastiness, the aggression, and coming from the left, it wasn't the right. Anyone that had followed me would know that as your election results were being announced, I would be coming around from a 5-6 hour surgery, and I had released a podcast just before I went into hospital. So it would have come out the morning of the election saying that I saw Trump calling it early. Do not panic. I saw the result of people that cannot stand in their own consciousness, that are sitting in fear, that want instant gratification. Instant gratification is a massive problem worldwide, but no more place than on TikTok. They want to know. They want it now. They don't want to do the work. They want the answers, and they want it easy. If you can learn the ability of self-awareness, but also learn the ability of mindfulness, it is incredibly important and will be incredibly important. Just because there is news out there, just because people are sharing information, doesn't mean to say that you need to have access to it, watch it, take it in. There is so much out there that is going to overwhelm people in the coming months that practicing mindfulness is really going to help you. Mindfulness is a basic human ability to be fully present, aware of where we are and what we're doing, and not overly reactive and overwhelmed by what is going on around us. While mindfulness is something we all naturally possess, it's more readily available to us when we practice it on a daily basis. Life takes work. If you're not wanting to do the homework, then you are not doing yourself the justice that you deserve. Whenever you bring full awareness to what you're directly experiencing via your senses or to your state of mind via your thoughts and emotions, you're being mindful. So mindfulness is really a protective mechanism to protect you from the world around you, just even if it's for a couple of minutes a day. Meditation is exploring. It's not a fixed destination. Your head doesn't become vacuum free of thought, utterly undistracted. It's a special place where each and every moment is momentous. When we meditate, which also helps us practice mindfulness, we venture into the workings of our minds, our sensations, air blowing on our skin, the harsh smell in the room, our emotions. I love this. I hate this. I crave this. And thoughts. Wouldn't it be weird to see an elephant playing a trumpet? Mindfulness meditation asks us to suspend judgment and unleash our natural curiosity about the workings of the mind, approaching our experience with warmth and kindness to ourselves and others. Mindfulness is available to us in every moment, whether through meditations and body scans or mindful moment practices, like taking time to pause and breathe when the phone rings instead of rushing to answer it. Mindfulness is awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally, and sometimes in the service of self-understanding and wisdom. Mindfulness helps us put some space between ourselves and our reactions, breaking down our conditioned responses throughout the day. Some of the great ways to work on mindfulness is to set aside time. You don't need a meditation cushion or a bench or any sort of special equipment to access mindfulness skills. You just need to set aside some time to do it. Observe your present moment as it is. The aim of mindfulness is not quieting the mind or attempting to achieve a state of eternal calm. The goal is simple. We're aiming to pay attention to the present moment without judgment. It's easier said than done. I know that. Let your judgment roll by. When we notice judgments arise during our practice, we can make a mental note of them and then just let them pass. Our minds often get carried away in thought. That's why mindfulness is the practice of returning again and again to the present moment. Be kind to yourself and your wandering mind. Don't judge yourself for whatever thoughts crop up. Just practice recognizing when your mind has wandered off and gently bringing it back. That's the practice. It's often been said that it's very simple, but it's actually not. Try being mindful, finding an object in your room, wherever you are, and focusing on that object. You are there in the present moment, staring at that object. It quietens your mind and it stops you reacting or overreacting, as the case may be, to what is going on around us. It helps us stop that reactive pattern that many people have. And we sometimes have to bring ourselves back to think, if I say that or if I do that, it's going to cause this. But taking 2 steps back and not reacting, not saying things really helps. As I say, I have seen the outcry on social media, the way that people have been reactive and don't have control of their consciousness and have to take out their pain on other people. Who is that helping? Who is it helping? So let's do another Patreon shout out today. As I said, there's lots of them, so buckle up. And if you don't like Patreon shout outs, forward on. We have thank you to Ethan, Caitlin, Maya Garcia, who has subscribed for 12 months, Verity, Shelley, Christy, Chris Hosian, who subscribed for 12 months, KMKF, Heather, Robin, Ali J, who subscribed for 12 months, Jennifer Lopez. Hello, Jennifer Lopez. Tammy Doss, who subscribed for 12 months, Yana, Jessica, Naja, Shannon, Tracy, who subscribed for 12 months, Beth, Jennifer, B, Ann Smith, Silly Sally, Trina, who subscribed for 12 months, Amy, Megan, Danielle, Gina, Megan, Erin, Leslie, Christina, Koki, who has subscribed for 12 months, Tracy, Jackie, Amy, Monroe, who subscribed for 12 months, Red, Terry, Leslie, another 12 months, Gigi, Pat, 12 months, Coco, Brown, NN, Heather, Jen for 12 months, Jessamine, Lisa, Martin, who subscribed for 12 months, Melissa Martin, and Shia Long, Jennifer Minaya, Shia Loving, Karen O'Connor, Gloria, Patricia, Sharon, Jill, Mandisa, Lily, Lynn, Susie, Deborah, Claudia, KB, Darlene, LDB1224, Jasmine, or Yasmin, I apologize, Yasmin, Stacy, Justin, Colleen, Ashley, Brittany, Emily, Kimberly, Melissa Martinez, who subscribed for 12 months, Lena, Elizabeth, Kristen, Tara, who subscribed for 12 months, Natalie, Pauline, Sam, Julia, Julie, Geneva, Yvonne, Susan, Debbie, Gigi, me, who subscribed for 12 months, Jessica Sexton, who subscribed for 12 months, Carla, Patricia, Addie, ML, Kim, Brandy, Michael, Jessica, Alicia, Valerie, Erica, Shelley, Chris DeBoer, Ware, Janae, Penny, Shazza, M. Hawk, Dawn, who subscribed for 12 months, Dawn, Jay Jackson, Joy Parker Chandler, Rebecca, Cameron, Rebecca subscribed for 12 months, Terry, Sandra Hartman, LB Keane, Jasmine DeFur, Kat Jones, Valerie, Kristen, CC, Samantha, Beth, Emily, Shelley Irwin, Nicole Bickerstaff, Carla Walsh, Wolf Boy, Sleepy Gal, Zen, Rosalie Jimenez, Zen subscribed for 12 months, Nora, Jessica, April Benj, Stasia Boyer, Kathy, Tracy Turner, Mark, Beth, who subscribed for 12 months, Joe subscribed for 12 months, Jackie, Lisa, Erin, Carly, Nicola, Donna, Tristy, Izzy, who subscribed for 12 months, Sandra, N, Bobby Joe, Reva Alexander Hawk, Jennifer. The list goes on. Thank you so much. Lisa, Melanie, Just Jay, Shannon, Carolyn McDonald, Susie, Chris, Nedra, Callie, Jeanette, who subscribed for 12 months, Mish, Sveta, who subscribed for 12 months, Matthew, A-Bomb, Linda, who subscribed for 12 months, Christine, Blanca, who subscribed for 12 months, Chris, JT, Madeline, Carly, Christy, Camille, Casey, Sarah, who subscribed for 12 months, Bonnie, Mel, Liz, Stephanie, Kay, Adrienne, Dawn, Robin, Kirsten, Stacey, Fern, Tara, Deirdre, Kay, Zorista, Christine, M, KV, Shelby, Cynthia, Von, Jen, Lupa, Mary, and Catherine. There's still another lot to go, but thank you all so much. I'm going to talk about the US election now. I know a lot of you are still reeling from the results of the day. I, as you know, was in surgery during the election, and I had made a podcast that morning saying, very clearly that Trump would call it way early, which he did. I have very little knowledge of how the US election works. So what I'm going to do is repeat a couple of conversations that I had with Laurie Rivers. We all know Laurie. And if you don't, you should be going along to her podcast and her Patreon, The Awake Space. I met Laurie 12 months ago. And when we first started chatting, we explicitly don't look at each other's predictions. We don't watch each other's videos. I don't really get to listen to her podcast unless I'm in the car, which isn't very often. I will sometimes put it on if I am doing a long drive, but other than that, not. We also have a podcast together called The Sassy Seers, which has very little metaphysical input, but we are sassy and we are seers. During the beginning of this year, when we were first in contact, I kept going to her with different scenarios that kept playing up because I really felt that the election wasn't going to go ahead. I kept saying, how is this going to work? How is this going to work? How is Kamala going to step into that role? And this is before Biden had even pulled out of the election. This is way before June, July, before that was even a thought pattern. And I kept saying, can they cancel an election? Can they not hold it? Can they not do the inauguration? What happens if? Because I kept saying that this election wasn't going to happen. And I felt really pushed once Kamala stepped in and I saw the momentum. That's when my logical brain stepped in. Wrong thing to do. I admit that. But the bottom line is that I still do not see Donald Trump being president. I know a lot of you think that I'm a lunatic, but to me, I was very careful after the election not to channel, purely because I was on quite a lot of strong pain medications. Plus, I was pretty angry at those that weren't able to practice mindfulness and step into their own, stay steady in their consciousness and how they reacted to me on social media. And those that didn't listen to all of my predictions around the election. I have recently channeled, and I took some of this to Patreon, so some of you would be aware of this. What I have been shown is a stepping in from the Pentagon. I don't think it's up to the Democrats. From what I am being shown, they are just having to step back and wait for a timeline to pass. This comes down to national security. Yes, there was a significant amount of election interference, but that in itself isn't enough for the Democrats to do something. It really has to come from the Pentagon on the advice of others. what I see playing out now, I have seen before Christmas, what it could well be the early part of January, is an announcement being made, not just from the United States. It could be from MI5 or another investigative national security point of view before anything happens within the United States. We all know that Musk is a national security risk, but they need a certain amount of proof, and I do believe that they need to have the election certified prior to a decision or prior to being able to act. So watch this space. The very difficult thing that is going to be a knock-on effect is the US is going to look very vulnerable. And I have been shown, and I've brought it to you before, that there is a high chance of terrorism activity within the United States. That could be small bombs. It could be explosions. I just feel that there could be a taking advantage of things. On top of that, the drop, there will be some financial aspects of the dropping of the dollar. There could be a Wall Street issue as we go through December, January time. It will rally, but it will drop significantly. There's a lot of unsettling energy in the world. This is the falling of the towers. This is the time that we will see the rebuilding of different entities, different countries. And it's going to be unpleasant. 2025 is not going to be an easy year. I really want you to be prepared for that. And I'm talking globally, not just the US or Australia, although us in Australia, I think, are going to be probably the safest that we have ever been. But really working on your mindfulness is going to help you. I cannot stress enough that it will be irrelevant as to what government is managing you if you do not hold your own consciousness and build your community. Community is key. It really, really is key. Do I think Kamala Harris is going to be in the White House? At this stage, I'm going to say no. And the reason for that is I do have this sense of, I hope I'm wrong. I do have this sense of a new primary, new elections, a newness to 2025. They could well decide that, yes, she is the president and things have been handled wrong, but I feel like the Democrats will rally and you will see. I want you to watch out for Gavin Newsom. Not watch out in a bad way. I feel like he may well step in to take that position in the primaries. It is another conversation that Laurie and I had, because I kept saying, what about Gavin Newsom? I don't see him at the moment on board, but I just feel like he has potential. And his name keeps coming up to me. So be aware of that. And be present in your life. Be the owner of your destiny. It is so important that you empower yourselves over the coming months, because ultimately you are the one responsible for your life. And I know that may sound blasé, but it's the best advice I am getting through spirit for your future. It's going to be a tricky and strange year coming up. As far as other things coming in, I've got an event that I'm recording at the moment that will come out at the end of December, which is the 2025 predictions. I'm really aware of people's finances and time at this time of year. So I didn't want to announce another event. The video will come out to the Broomstick besties and above for free and will be for purchase in my shop for a nominal amount. The same with all of the events that I've got coming up. I've kept them really low cost. I have the Manifesting in the New Year event that is going to be, which is available at the moment. That's $30 for 30 minutes. There is an Evidential Mediumship event in January. That's $50. There is a empowerment workshop. That is $50. I'm keeping things really low cost for you, because I want to reach as many people as I possibly can. Let's do another round of Patreon shout-outs, shall we? Roscoe, Julie, Christine, Mel, Amy S, Cecilia, Danielle Bird, Lupe, Kid, Scott, Katrina, Lalissa, Jackie, Megan, Christine, Maritza, Tomika, Ruthie, Karen, Rita, Ashley, Alicia, Rachel, Isaac, Darlene, B, Alex, Jamie, Jane, Natalie, Danielle, Ash, Amy, Toro, Emily, LB83, Frost, Amber, E, Holly, Darcy, Amber, Adriana, who's subscribed for 12 months, another Amber, there's so many Ambers joining, Heather, Stevie, Claire, Jackie, Charles, Jenny, Melinda, Trisha, Gina, Valkyra, who's subscribed for 12 months, Shelley, Elizabeth James, Corinna, Reagan, Jessica, Laura, Jennifer, Emma, Pat 2010, Amanda, James, a May Wet t-shirt contest, great name, Laura, Heather, who's subscribed for 12 months, SS, Celia, the Brenda C54, Johanna, Kerry, Annie, Bill Hall, Mary, Malia, Amanda, Letty, Laurie, Trisha D, Robin, Bree, Dabo Girl, Anne-Marie Moncure, who subscribed for 12 months, Kelly, Alice for 12 months, Kelly, Desiree, Nicole, Maria, Tamika, Janelle, Jenny, Janelle, Brooke, Monica, Jazz, Andrea, Anita, Brittany, Anita subscribed for 12 months, Stephanie, Mac, Shannon, Amber, Kat, Megan, Matthew, Kay, Hilda, Kala, Massina, Suzanne, Padma, Slurpy Winger, Debbie, Christine, RR, E. Adams, Amelia, a furry woodland creature, Seashells, Savannah, Delaney, Anita J, Catherine O'Brien, who subscribed for 12 months, Carol Potter, Jennifer A, James Ryan, Beverly, Reen, Emily, Carmina, Nicola Parker, Alison, Brittany, Milo, Robin, Shares, Jean, Lauren, Elizabeth, Brittany, Megan, Christian, Jen, Michelle, Creative Goddess, 8 Bits, Antique Road HO, Andrea. We're getting there, guys. Anna Moncure, who's subscribed for 12 months. Cocoa Puffs, Shannon, Erin Walker for 12 months. T, Ash, Tabitha, Melissa, Catherine, Zuzi, Ash, Mark, Rachel Jones-Lindsay, Kate Lavender, Hayley, Joanna, Carolyn, Langley, Kelly, Randy, Catherine Stefanak, Sky Rowe, Shannon, Kate, Lauren, Penny, Murgo, Vivian, Kim, Sondra, D, Tiffany, Josephine, Christine, Sylvia, Jennifer Kiefer, Kirsty Powell, Eli, Jen, Trudy, Cynthia, Victoria, Rachel, Lisa, Alicia for 12 months, Kelly, Tammy, Linda the Good Witch, Nehemi, Elizabeth, Shalom, I'm so sorry, for 12 months, Maura, Nikki, Suzanne, Brenda, Charlene, Andrea, Gina Scott, Ashley, Renee, Jessica, Alfaro, Joanna Coldwin, and Jenna Kay. Every single one of you rock. I cannot thank you enough for all of your support. I know that was a long list for us to get through, but I am incredibly appreciative of all of your support. So to wrap up today, I'm just going to do the final little bit of what I see coming in over the next month to 6 weeks globally, not just the US. And then we're going to move on, and I'm going to do an interview with Danielle Frank, who is just absolutely amazing. There is a lot of discomfort coming in globally. There feels like I know what's happened in Syria, and I feel like not a lot, I'm going to say there's another 3 governments to collapse. My eyes are actually in Italy at the moment. I feel there's news coming out of Italy around government. I also feel that there is news in Ireland around a past politician and things coming out about them. The UK can expect shock news coming out from the royal family. And here in Australia, we're just going to be treading water to the next election. Those supply chain issues around Australia that I talked about earlier in the year are happening right now. With the strike that's happening with one of our major supermarkets, the shelves are empty. Try and stock up as best you can, because I feel like they may go back to work and then they will strike again. There is an issue around airports and airspace globally where I feel like there may be a lot of shock cancellations. And I am seeing an airline crash or an aeroplane crash happening over the Christmas period. I do feel like it's a small or a private plane, but it will hold somebody, it will be carrying somebody of importance. That's what I'm going to leave you with right now. I do feel good news coming in around sort of announcements of people getting married over the holiday period, that they haven't announced it or they do it very privately. It's like a surprise. That will be coming in. And I feel a new project coming in, like an announcement of a film for an actor that hasn't been present for a really long time or maybe have been sick. That's about it. Enjoy the interview with Danielle, and I will catch you next week. Take care, everyone. Okay, as promised, I have the wonderful Danielle Frank, who is entrepreneur, podcast host, social media star. You're building your social media at the moment, aren't you?
I mean, I'm trying to get back into it. I took a little break and now I'm coming back to it.
That's amazing. And Danielle as with the theme of this new season of Beyond the Broomstick, I'm interviewing people that have been impacted by having a reading with me, have taken things out of the reading, been able to move in certain directions or be prepared. And you've had 2 readings with me 12 months apart.
Yeah.
So I wanted to really ask you what the biggest takeaway from the readings that we've had has been.
You know, it's so funny because the first one that we did, it was a few years after my father passed away. And that was so, I don't know if it's like a first parent syndrome that passes away and you just feel like, I don't know, it's just so devastating. And it was very hard to move forward with it. And being able to hear such specific details that really only me and my siblings would know was so delicious. And it made me feel as though he was okay. One, that was like a big thing. But also that he was still very much involved. Like there was a lot of really funny details that you gave me.
I love the part of the evidence.
Yes.
The fact that your loved ones will come through. Your dad came through with such clarity, and I think he knew that you had been waiting for this.
Well, I think that there was a lot going on in my life at that time, and I was kind of trying to figure out what I was doing with my career, what I was doing with my life. And, you know, what I really appreciate about you is that being an evidential medium, not only are you kind of talking to, you know, our past loved ones, but also it kind of gives the gravitas. It gives that, you know, okay, yeah, I better listen to what she has to say after that. Yes. So with him, it was really interesting because not only was he giving like details like nicknames, like he called my mom Patrish. And I remember you saying Patrice and it was so specific because my mom's name was Patricia and no one called her anything but that. So it was really very specific. And my dad passed at 86 years old. He was not on social media. Nobody wrote any of this down. So nobody would know other than us kids. So that was really delightful. You came right out of the bat with that. And then, you know, just the little idiosyncrasies that my father had, which he had many. And, and my favorite was the thing that I had no idea what you were talking about, which was, you said, oh, your father is mentioning that he loves that all of you are talking with each other. Now, we were all texting each other. We had a big group text. I have 10 brothers and sisters. It's like a nightmare, that text message group.
I can imagine.
It's blowing up my phone all the time. But, you know, we started it up not too long before that. And at one point he said something along the lines of like, your father's bringing me to like someplace. I don't know if it was Danish or something like that. It was some Nordic country.
Yep.
And something about that, you know, he really likes something that's being done there. And I'm like, I don't know what this, we're German, you know, are you sure you're not talking about it? Nope, not talking about that. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. It turns out an hour later, I got onto the group chat and my sister was mentioning something she was doing with her students that was a Christmas tradition that was Danish. And she said in there specifically, oh my gosh, Dad would love this. So it was really funny.
I love those little nuggets that come through that prove that your loved ones, the continuation of consciousness and the fact that they are still watching you doesn't matter that they're not physically around or in their physical body, that they are still keeping an eye on all of you. And what a nod to all of your siblings as well, that he said that.
It was really great, especially for my mom at the time. She had just moved out of state. It was the first time she moved out of the town she grew up in. And she was, 7. No, I don't know how old she was at that point, but she was older, like maybe late 70s or 80 years old, somewhere around there. And she was a little uncomfortable with the move. And she went there for my brother's sake, for better care for him. And yeah, she kept on saying it was a beautiful little home, and she kept on saying, "Oh, I wish your father could see this, and he would have liked this, and I don't know if I made the right decision." And one of the first things she said to me is like, "Well, okay, this is very generic, but I'm going to just say it. Your father wants me to tell, Patricia that she did the right thing, and that not to worry, you did the right thing." And that, I remember telling my mom that, and she says, "Oh, that's wonderful." Oh, and that he was with her. He was with her, and he sees it,
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it made her so happy at the time. And it was very difficult. That was her life partner for the time that she was 20, I think. They were, fell madly in love when they first met and had 11 kids. Crazy.
11 kids.
But it was really great. And afterwards, you kind of went over a lot of stuff that was coming up for me. And it was funny because you had mentioned, yeah, you're not going to be working where you're working anymore. And I was like, yeah, I kind of know that. I kind of figure that one out. I mean, hey, it is what it is. But, and that proved to be true, but also saying that I was going to come into something different. I think you said something along the lines of, multiple streams of revenue, different things, and that I was going to be on my own with that. And that's what I did. It was very interesting the way it turned out.
I think that's sometimes we do get the heads up, and we have to be really careful about how we deliver it. And I think I've said to you before, I don't remember readings. I do not remember readings. I remember energies.
You got frustrated with me, actually.
Oh, did I? Okay.
Oh, it was great.
Wouldn't be the first.
I deserved it. I want to be completely transparent about this, Matilda. I totally deserved it. I want details. I want people to tell me what to do. And at the time, I was asking you all these questions about the fact that I was going to lose my job, because I felt it. I knew it was coming. And I said, you're saying, you should start something now. And I'm going, yeah, but if I start something now, will that make me lose it quicker or whatever? I was going through all these scenarios, and you're going through,
yeah,
for crying out loud. I'm not supposed to tell you, because one of the things that are an Achilles heel for me, I've gotten much better about it, actually, is because I worked on it after talking to you.
Amazing.
Was that I feel as though I need to know that it's a sure bet. I need to know, the next step I'm taking, is it safe? Is it the right thing to do? Because I've had a lot of scenarios in my past where I didn't feel safe. And so I tend to be on, take the safe path. But, there's no glory in taking the safe route. You gotta.
There's also
take
lessons
chances
to be learned, and a lot of people will say, "I want to know." And if you give people a sure bet, even if I'm given it by your guides, it stops people growing. It stops people really listening to their own guidance. And as the mediumship aside, the psychic side of things is all about giving people the equipment and empowering them to make decisions for themselves. And sometimes the things can be repeated until we learn the lesson. And that, you just think how proud you are of yourself right now.
Yes, actually I am.
And
I mean, it was scary at the time, but
it's scary at the time, but you did that. And the fact that you were able then to mutter under your breath whatever you wanted to mutter about me and go about your business.
It's she's mean, but I needed her to be mean to me.
Sometimes I have to be mean. And, I'm not.
You weren't mean. You weren't mean. No,
I am just. And my caveat is always, this is your guides. This is your guides. They're giving me the information. Yeah. But during that reading, because we've had two, and I just want to touch on that. There were things that came through, as you've spoken before about, and just so that the listeners know, this is our second go at this interview because Mercury retrograded hard. I've had a month off because of surgery and trying to edit the original interview just turned out to be diabolical. So Danielle has very graciously agreed to do this with me again. But there were snippets that came through, nuggets that helped you prepare for other things that were happening.
It was interesting because I know that, obviously as someone with great integrity, you're not going to tell us stuff that we're not supposed to know. But at the time you had a moment where you went, oh, your mother, she's going to go through a hard time and you really need to give her a lot of love. And that's all I got to say about that. And I remember thinking, okay, as soon as you said it, I actually felt like I was going to lose Mom. Immediately it came to me, but I was like, okay. My mom was a very interesting person. She was very, very spiritual. She had been preparing us for years in the sense of she always felt as though death was graduating. Just like we graduate from, high school or we graduate from college and we move on to the next part of our lives. So for her, leaving our physical body was just her graduating and getting to see this whole new side of the universe and the world. And isn't this wonderful? She really did embrace the idea, not that she was looking to die or anything, but she embraced the idea of that moving on to something bigger and better. So it turned out the day after my birthday, she had a stroke, and that was in March. And she lingered for a few months. It was rough. It was really rough.
Yes.
And passed away at the end of March. In fact, I remember going on your live because I had this reading I had with you. And I was like, I know you usually say wait 6 months. This is more like 4.
Yes, I remember that. And I think just touching on that, your mum's philosophy of graduating has really touched me. That just gave me, I don't know, so much the comfort that I was able to bring to you, and you knowing that your mum was comfortable with everything. So when you did pop into my live and ask me that question, should I left it up to you. I think I actually emailed you a week before as well,
you
just
did, which
to
was
double
so
check.
Kind. That was so kind.
Oh,
no, and I felt at peace with, don't get me wrong. I know you miss your mom. You want to call her and you want to have we would have hour-long philosophical conversations about
that's
everything.
Beautiful.
But I felt like for some reason when my dad passed, I knew he really didn't want to die, even though he was much older. Really didn't want to die. He loved being around all of us. And it was just very painful because we all had to make the decision to end the machines and everything. And it was really, really hard.
I'm sorry.
And though we, in essence, had to do that with Mom, it was different. Because with Mom, we knew that this was something that, she was excited for. And her faith, even if any of us might have been unsure of what goes on beyond, we knew she was, like my dad was, but he was he was very Catholic. And it was just a different vibe. My mom believed that the universe and the energy that flows through all of us is pure love. As far as she was concerned, it was pure love. So she just felt as though she was moving on to something that was pure love. So it was just easier, So having the conversation with you a few months ago was really joyful for me.
Oh, I'm so glad about that, because I wanted to ask, we'd had, the readings were 12 months apart, and we had connected with your dad, and he had brought through so much evidence that he was around you, as we've talked about. But when you knew that your mum was passing, how much more comfort did that bring you because of the reading that you'd had?
A lot. Excuse me. I feel as though, one, I knew Dad really was there waiting for her.
Yes.
And even
with his
in
foot tapping.
In the second reading that we had, it was very funny because you were like, I feel like, she goes, this doesn't make sense, but it feels like, were they separated? And I said, well, he passed ahead of time because, as we said, you don't always remember the one
Yes.
before. But she's like, you were saying like, oh, I feel like they were separated, but gosh, they're awfully excited about being together right now. And my father said something, I knew I'd marry her as soon as I saw her, which I had heard him say multiple times.
Oh, how beautiful.
And it really, the separation, I think, had more to do with, as they got older, they had a house down in Florida, which I ultimately bought. And I was living here and my mom would send him down so she would get a break for a few months.
I love this.
And then when they started to miss each other, they talk on the phone every day, but they would start to miss each other and they would he would go back up and they would play like kids. Oh, let's go take some pictures of things. Let's go visit people. Let's go do this. And then when she got sick of them, she would send him down to me again.
I love that though.
Yeah.
A perfect marriage.
Yeah, well, they had their ups and downs, but I think when it comes to that, I kind of like that idea.
I like the idea. I do. I think there's so many people I hear about when their partners leave the forces or they've been working away and they're suddenly at home 24/7. It's like, why did I get married? I just can't deal with this.
Oh, yeah. No, it was a rough start when that first happened. And they had this house when that first happened. So my mom was very much intent on sending him down.
Your mother was very, very spiritual.
Yes.
And your father, as you said, was very religious. I had a very similar upbringing with my father being very, very Catholic. He always said that he was answerable to God and my mother, not necessarily in that order. And my mother, all her family were Romany gypsies. So she could very much like me say something and it would happen. She never worked professionally in this, but obviously it's a genetic thing. It's been passed down. And my ability actually became so much stronger when my mother died. But for you, your mum has handed you the baton.
Yeah, well, I feel like in some ways, and it's really funny because, like I said, this is what I grew up with.
Yes,
it's a very strange, because you mentioned it right when we started to have the reading. You said, okay, Danielle, I know this is your mother, so this makes no sense, but was she a nun?
I remember that.
She went into the convent at like 16. She wanted to be a nun. And I don't know how long she wound up staying there. I know she met my dad not long after she left. But she liked boys too much. So,
well, I couldn't figure out because I think we talked about the amount of siblings you had, and I'm like, she's showing me a habit. I'm not quite sure about this.
Yep. Well, like she was very much enmeshed in the Catholicism, but in the same breath, I really think that particularly the women in her family, they were very much open to alternative. Certainly, whether it be mediumship or astrology, they were very much into reading astrology. My mother, a lot of times when we came home with a date, she'd be like, "So, what's your birthday?"
I love those memes. You see them online. It's the girl on a date on the phone saying it's his birthday, or he won't give me his birthday. And it's like, run. We don't run him.
Yeah. But she was always reading something, always trying to find an explanation, particularly in books. She had a huge library of brilliant authors of spirituality and philosophy. So that she could have more of an understanding of not just what was beyond, but right now and here, and how do you live your life where you're connected to, spirit, connected to the universe, and connected to your purpose. So she did do some things where she did some lectures at her, I guess it was like Unity Church or something. I forgot what it was called. But it was a non-denominational, and they had a lot of different speakers there, and she would do that. I think she always wanted to write a book, but she didn't have the patience.
You may have to do that for her.
Well, you had said that, your mom saying that you need to continue on that work. And it's funny because I'm actually in the beauty industry, and I, work with businesses and help them kind of structure a lot of things, but also was a trained hairdresser. And I love beauty. I love fashion. I love all that stuff. It's fun. But in the long run, I love community. I love empowering people. I love it when people have that moment where they let go of a lot of the weight that they carry around and the sadness or the bad feelings they have about themselves, and really slow down to be able to connect to, the universe, to energy, to be able to find their purpose. And, which I kind of feel like is partly mine, but I just never knew where to go with it, because I am a person that's a little bit of a perfectionist, and I feel as though, okay, if I'm going to do something, I have to be really good at it. I have to be an expert at everything.
See, perfectionism stops progress.
Yes. And I also understand that if I knew everything, if I was an expert and I knew everything, where would I grow?
That's just it. That is just it. And I love the fact that you do have a new podcast coming out, which I will add to the show notes, because we will have the
Matilda
details.
is going to help me name it, because I can't think of a name.
I will, yes. So there will be some information before this podcast comes out, and it will be in the show notes. But I just want to touch on the fact that we have done 2 mediumship readings, but with all my mediumship readings, I do include the psychic side of things, which is your guides, giving you, as you have put it much better than I can, a bit of a kick up the backside and pushing you in a direction. What do you feel that you were able to get from the psychic side of the readings that we did?
Most of the times it's confirmation. It usually is stuff that maybe I might have intuitively knew.
Yes.
But I was kind of like, the brain, it just like overrides some things that we intuitively know.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's, you're thinking and you're doing this and doing that. And then you get this little voice that's saying, slow down. Or that little voice that's saying, that's not really what you're supposed to be doing. What are you talking about? I'm moving, I'm hustling.
Sometimes it's about stopping.
Right. And I feel as though, I think anybody can benefit if you're like, drop the expectations. And if you are to go and just listen and be present in that moment and listen to the message that comes through, a lot of times it's stuff that you may already know, already know the path that you're supposed to be going. It's just, our insecurities and our lack of confidence, or, the crappy thing somebody said to us the other day is like making us feel like I can't do that.
Yeah.
And like that is something I really love.
Yeah. Your guides will know you better than anyone or anything. I once had somebody, I think they left a review, and they said, you can run away and hide things from your therapist. You cannot hide from Matilda. And I love that. I'm just like, So, people will have readings for all sorts of reasons. And I love the fact that your guides are going to step forward. They're going to tell you what you need to know, not necessarily what you want to know. And it will really help motivate you sometimes. It should empower you. All readings should empower you. And look at you, your podcast. We talked about this in the last reading, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is I think I started and abandoned like 2 or 3 podcasts over the past year, because just the chaos that happened in this past year was insane. Yeah, it was a crazy year. So, but in the same breath, I was starting these things and they weren't resonating with me. And I think I've always kind of steered away from doing anything with spirituality, because I don't know if anybody I know really saw me in that light, except for a couple of few, like my close friends.
Yes.
I mean, I'm the hair girl. And, the girl that likes to go thrifting and make cute outfits and stuff.
Listen, I said to Laurie the other day, I said to Laurie Rivers, I want to be Danielle when I grow up. She always looks so put together.
I'm telling you, I was thrifting today too.
Oh, I love it.
I love it. It's fun. I take more chances. But I think, believe it or not, that goes back to a lot of what I was saying. I think back in the day, I used to dim my light a little bit. And a lot of it had to do with the way I looked, because for whatever reason, I think, a lot of it, I hate to say it, but a lot of it was Catholicism. You're supposed to be,
that conditioning.
Yes. You're supposed to be meek. You're supposed to be, a good girl,
small,
and nice and small, and don't make yourself too big. Not that everybody listened to it, but apparently I did. And now it's very freeing to me. It's a way of expressing and have fun, and
the authenticity that can come with us suddenly realizing that we are our own person. We are grown-ups. We're allowed to make decisions. And if people are upset by the decisions, choices that we make, that it's on them. It's not on us.
And let me tell you, if someone used to say something about what I wore or made a comment, that used to crush me. Now I'm just like, okay. I'm like, yeah, sure. Say what you want. And that just emboldens me even more. I want to wear something even more outrageous.
Amazing.
To me, it's just plain fun. So, but yeah, so going into, it always seems more like, oh, I should be doing about this. Oh, I should be doing about that. That's what people know me for. But it always came back to, in my heart of hearts, I wanted to talk about this. I wanted to talk about what effect it's had on my life, especially in the past 10 years. Really, the curiosity that I have about the universe and energy and how it flows through everything, and, what that really means is so delicious that I felt like maybe there's other people that feel the same way.
There's a lot of people in our age group, and I'm not trying to age you up or anything. I'm not sure how old you are.
I'm 52.
Oh, you're the same. I'm 53, so we are in that same age group that have been socially conditioned and have been taught to be meek and mild and to make themselves smaller, to make other people more comfortable. And sometimes it's a huge part of my job sometimes when I'm speaking to somebody in that 40 to 60 age group that have gone through life thinking that they had to be a certain way and how it has affected them. And when they have a reading with me and their guides step forward, and guides will go back to find that cause or to pinpoint a time in their life that has set them up to believe what their pattern is now. And it's just beautiful to see people flourish and suddenly become who they really want to be and live authentically.
And I have to say, and I'm lucky that I have a therapist that actually is a person that believes in spirituality and mediumship. And
that is great.
I know. I love her for it. And she always says, I'm not supposed to talk about those things, but she goes, but I know this is your belief system. We have similar, so I understand. She thinks it's great that I do this, and that she says it's a holistic way of approaching, healing yourself and building your self-confidence and stepping into what feels right for you and your purpose. It's so funny because we get into all these different buzzwords that now, manifestation and all this stuff.
Yes.
It drives me nuts how it's been so overused now that
it's
when I say it's
commercialized.
Right. And now when I say it, I'm like, what I was saying is that sometimes I feel very dorky saying some of these words because I feel as though they've been, why do I keep on saying liquefied? It's not, but diluted.
Diluted. Yeah.
It's been diluted, but being able to be connected to source, or I don't even know what word to call it. Cause as far as I'm concerned, they haven't necessarily told us what to call it. So I'll use all kinds of words.
But I also think that there's, people don't put the depth behind something. You can manifest all you want, but if you don't have the belief in yourself, or you want to bring, I want it because so it should be, rather than believing that you should have
worthy.
It's worthy. So there's a lot of work that should go behind things.
And because I get a little bit like the ick when I hear like, if I just like think about it all the time, it'll happen or whatever. Or if I write it down, it's so much more than that. It is doing the work on, letting go of a lot of like traumas and unpacking a lot of baggage and doing the hard work. It almost sometimes feels like it's like an easy out. Like I'm just going to get everything I want if I just wish upon a star. It doesn't work that way.
I actually have just released a course for the start of January, which is it's a workshop to start a course around the self-concept and resilience, because I feel like it's so important. Watching people's reaction to the outcome of the election. We won't go into that in too much detail because there's still a lot more to come. There is still more to come on that. You're still traumatized by it, but watching people's reaction, and instead of trying to really realize, okay, I need to look at what I'm going to do or build community or look within, I still, as I said, there's a lot more to come out from this election. I've talked extensively about it, but people's reaction and their lack of ability to hold their consciousness. I got death threats, and that should never, people that are holding their consciousness and being able to understand what they need to do instead of lashing out at other people.
What is wrong with people?
Oh, yeah.
That's insane.
It's insane that you would take out your anger at a medium that is on social media instead of, those that didn't vote or those that may have, voted the wrong way. Yeah. But it is what it is. But I'm really wanting to work with people I'm wanting to hit more people this year, like 2025. I'm wanting to make my workshops and courses available to more people, because not everyone can have one-on-one readings. It's, it's a ridiculous weight. It's expensive. Not everyone has that privilege. So I am.
And there's only one of you.
There is only one of me. And it's hard. It's hard. So I do want to reach that. But your podcast is sort of trying to look at it from someone that has grown up with different views, and not so much different views, because you did have that spirituality, but letting go of the conditioning that you had.
Oh yeah. And unfortunately, like, whether it be the conditioning that we have from, our schools, I went to Catholic school, I was going to say religion. But I mean, my mom used to say, I put generational trauma on you by the way my mother raised her and by how her mother raised her. Unfortunately, that's what I've gifted you. I didn't mean to, but like, this is stuff that we all have. And at some point or another, one of our generations have to sit there and go, like, maybe we shouldn't be putting this out in the world and unpack it.
I love that she was so open to be able to say that to you.
Absolutely. And then, as I went into adulthood, I actually, unfortunately, married someone that had severe mental illness. I didn't realize it at the time, obviously.
Yeah.
But it was very difficult, and spent a lot of time gaslighting me. And that's another term that drives me nuts, because that's a term I'm really familiar with. It's a lot deeper than what people like to say.
Yes.
And I became a shell of a human being that, like, if he told me the sky was green, I'd say, yes, it's green. And I would see it as green. Like, it was not good.
And I think the great thing is that you have been able to step back, realize that trauma causes you to behave in certain ways and to accept certain things. But you're taking that experience and your knowledge and your empathy and your growth out into the world to help other people?
I want to be the person that I wish I had in my life, I guess, that might understand it and also, and has the patience and understanding that we all go through trauma. I think that if there's anything that I've learned in this journey is that it's okay. It's okay that we get stuck sometimes. It's okay to ask for help. The only thing I can say is run with it, because if you keep on, I need help, but you're not actually doing anything with it. There's no growth in that, and it's
absolutely
it becomes like a cycle, not just for you, but for the people that you're asking help for. So it's really important to put the work in, and and when you do, it's just. You suddenly are at a lot more peace. I mean, I still got work to do. Don't get it twisted.
Everyone has work to do. I have work to do. But the fact that many of us have a shroud around us for so long, and
my negative self-talk was wicked. I didn't even realize I was doing it. And
because it becomes a pattern. It's a pattern that we establish. And until we realize that staying stuck is going to be more painful than the growth, we will not step out of that. And as somebody that is a medium, the way that I can help people is through the readings that I do and through the courses that I do. And for you, you've taken up the podcast and using that platform to help other people. And we all need to do something that there's no point in all of us sitting there and going, I can't.
Right.
Everybody is capable of it. Everybody is capable of sharing. They are capable of growing a community. That is what's going to be important as we move through 25 and 26.
I think it's also very important that I feel like that there is something about feminine energy. There's something very powerful and beautiful of it that has been suppressed for a very long time.
I talked about this recently.
Oh, okay.
I have seen a pattern on social media. I found TikTok very toxic lately. I don't know whether you have experienced
they're going out of business in the United States in a month.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
It's just become a very scary, toxic place. And I have seen so many women who are passionate, who want to share their experiences, their knowledge, not so much their ability, but they are sharing their growth and how they moved through trauma, also sharing their views on politics, economics, all sorts of things. The standard response that many, many of them have had take me back to the 1950s. And they're going to open the old hysteria clinics for them and offer them a lobotomy with their breakfast because they are being told that they have mental illnesses. People are going onto these pages and leaving comments and saying, you must have bipolar, you must have ADD, you must have this, because they have an opinion and they dare to share it.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And it's funny because, people forget, at least in the United States, women couldn't have a bank account until I think 73 or 74, like a year or two after I was born.
I think it was the same in the UK.
Women, they had their place. They had their place. My mom used to always say to me that one of the things she loved about my dad, like there's even a picture of it where she's talking very animated. My mom was very, bigger than life when she was younger and still like a very huggable, didn't exactly censor her point of view. She was definitely opinionated. And my father was a little bit more quiet and more reserved. loved the fact that she was like this. And there's this picture of her from like the early 60s. And my dad is standing behind her. My mom is very animatedly talking to someone. And my dad is that quiet presence behind her. And he once said to me, he's like, oh yeah, no one was going to say anything bad to your mother when she was talking.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So but the fact that even when at a time when women really probably would have gotten into trouble for having certain opinions at that time, there were men that would stand up. And when I look at what's going on right now, it's kind of sad because here's the thing, you know what it's like. We have sons.
Yes.
We have boys. Mm-hmm. And we see how this system and the way things are going is really not good for them. It's not just about us.
No, it's not
good for them.
It's not good for them. I'm always grateful that my boys had me because I'm very opinionated. Didn't know whether you knew that or not. Yeah, I know. And they have seen strong women. They have seen and they encourage that. Growing up, I didn't have that. I had it on the outside. So I had a father that would say, I want you to be a woman in a man's world, but he didn't give me the tools to manage that. So when you're bringing somebody down and making them quieter in the house, but you expect them to be loud externally, it doesn't work. You have to do it from the start. And we also need to empower women to be more comfortable speaking their mind amongst and showing how they should set boundaries and what they are deserving of.
That was a hard one.
Mm-hmm.
That was a hard one. Boundaries were not a thing.
They weren't. And we were told off for having boundaries.
Oh yeah, we were called the bitch.
Yeah.
What? Because you couldn't take advantage of me? Okay.
Oh dear. What a shame. What a shame. So this is, I think that you're doing such a good thing with this podcast and teaching people to have a voice through spirituality. Does that make you understand?
A page from you and Lori and people like you. Hopefully building a community of people that are like-minded and maybe some that need support or some people that have gone through it and are there to mentor. I would love to be able to provide that in some way because that is a great feeling. It really makes a difference. When you have people saying, it's okay, I know this is tough, but we got you. You could do this. You could do this.
We don't need to be the voice of everyone. What we need to be is help people have a voice of their own.
Yeah.
And as a collective, and we're not women's libbers. This isn't a new thing. This is teaching people how empowering and empowered they can be. We're not running a cult. There's no cult here. It is empowering people. And just before we finish up, I want to talk about how moving forward, have you continued to talk to your parents? Do you feel more comfortable that they are there for you?
Actually,
to you?
It's so funny you brought this up because I was thinking to myself before I came in, I'm like, I got to mention this to Matilda. Matilda, are you psychic?
No. Am I?
It's very funny. Ever since that last reading and, having my mom come through and it was so wonderful. And you did mention the small yellow flower, which is dandelions, which I used to give my mom all the time. And we don't see that a lot down here where I live because everything's so manicured. But it does pop up every once in a while in unexpected places. But weirdly enough, it's not so definitive signs. It's an overwhelming of I just know she's here, that presence, almost as if I could feel her leaning into me or hugging me. There's a certain, this is going to sound so strange.
Nothing. I talk to dead people. What's strange?
But it's almost like a scent or a feeling that you got when a certain person leans into you. It's that almost like that weight
Warmth.
or whatever. It warm, just that presence. Mom had a presence. So I guess maybe that je ne sais quoi that goes beyond her body. It was there even when she was physically present here. And it would come up and I'd be like, yo, Mom, what do you do here?
I love that.
Hey, Mom, what's going on?
Oh,
How's everything going? Or some days it's like, Mom, why aren't you here?
Oh,
I know you're here, but it's not the same.
It isn't. It never is the same.
Right. So it's really wonderful that I have that out, and I've been getting a lot of 222, 333, 111, like a lot.
That's
every day.
And I always say to people, pay attention to what you're going through at the time you see that, because it can be I'm putting this podcast together. Am I doing the right thing? It can be that just that you're on the right pathway. They're giving you that nod, because a lot of people think that different numbers mean different things. To me, and over the years of my work, I've realized that those numbers will show up when you're thinking about something you've got to make a decision on or doubting yourself. And it's, look, hey, Danielle, you're on the right pathway. Keep going.
It's so funny because, like, I have the same philosophy. Like, I've looked up the numbers, of course, but to me, they all, when you look them up online, it always seems like all the meanings kind of blend together. Like, how do you differentiate?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And really, in all honesty, I feel as though the numbers are just a confirmation of, like, hey, you're on the right path. You got this. This is it. Go for it. And normally it's at a moment where I'm questioning, like,
yes,
I'm questioning, and normally when I see the numbers, I'm like, yeah, okay, fine.
They've got your back. They've got your back.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, I'm listening, or I'm just like, thank you.
Yeah. And you had a love affair with your parents.
Yes.
They were two beautiful people that made a lot of children. And you had this real love affair and admiration, and they passed you had a peaceful relationship with them when they passed. Sadly, that doesn't always happen. There are people that lose parents, loved ones, who have an estrangement, or they haven't settled disagreements. And although you had your parents come through with a lot of love, often people that have readings with me, their parents are able to come through, their loved ones come through with this apology, with acknowledging a part that they have played. And that also brings an amazing amount of peace.
You remember what I asked you at the end?
I do remember. And
So my ex-husband passed away a couple of months before the reading. And I have a lot of mixed feelings. I hadn't seen him in 4 years, and neither had my children. And it was very complicated feelings with this, because I still have a young son who's 15. And I was like, is he going to be there? Like, he doesn't need to be. I don't know, but I was wondering, because here's the thing. I will always have gratitude for the fact that I have 3 amazing boys.
Absolutely.
Really good boys. And in many ways, I have this feeling of where I would like him to have peace. Very complicated human being. And I would, regardless of what was done to me or even to my kids, he's a soul in this world. My mother used to always say we were all, created out of love, and we were expressions of God. So, they deserve our love. We share the same energy. How can we hate someone that we share the same energy with?
Yes.
And when they were taking him off the machines, I had actually asked my mom, all right, Mom, this is very complicated, but can you please just make sure he's okay over there. I want him to have peace. But I really didn't want to talk to him. But I was wondering whether or not I was kind of panicked that he was going to show up in the reading. And you had explained that, sometimes they won't come through because you don't need it. And I don't think I need it. But also, one, it takes time.
Yeah, I can bring through people immediately, but I think the time for you will come, and it will happen when you are ready.
I sometimes wonder if my children, I think my children more so than me, but yeah, I think that it's when you are ready to receive that message, I think that it makes sense that would be the time that they would come, because for them to come when you're not right with it.
Yes.
I don't see the universe being like that. I don't see, the afterlife being like that.
I think sometimes just the information, just the realization that egoic part of our soul isn't there in the afterlife, that part that causes pain to other people, and the ability that they have to reflect during that transition is helpful. Some people can hold on to that and some people can't.
Do you ever feel as though some people feel like, they're hearing this message of peace or whatever, or regret or whatever it might be, and the person receiving the message like, that's a lie?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's not who they want to speak to. It's not
they're
who they want to
lying.
hear. And I understand that. I mean, look, I have people that have passed in my life that I don't necessarily want to hear from. That obviously they've not come through for me. They haven't come through in readings. And I argue, I shake my fist and still argue, even knowing this, even having done thousands and thousands of readings and connected thousands of loved ones, I will still shake my fist at certain people in the air and have a conversation with them. So I totally understand that, but people will accept it when they're ready.
Yeah. I remember someone saying that to me, like, no, like, that's not true. And I think they're lying to you. And I'm sitting here like, I don't think that's how it works up there. I don't.
And that's the conditioning. It's the holding
I
on to
don't
the
know
religion.
what their motivation is to lie. They're dead.
It's the. Are you talking about what I'm saying as far as the
when
people
when the people are coming through and they're losing the ego? Like there's why would they lie? There's no.
That's again, that comes down to the religious conditioning that we have, that there has to be a heaven and a hell, and people have to have their karma, and that they must pay for the pain that they've caused us in this lifetime. And that's that holding on to that conditioning.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So, yeah. And that, I understand it. I do, because we are conditioned for so many years. We're taught at school. I went to a school that, was religious. It was one or the other.
And I've always said,
babies, what religion preaches that children who are not baptized are in purgatory. No. Would you prefer that I said that?
That's so wrong.
It is so wrong. It is, and it is not my lived experience with thousands of people that I've connected with. And I can only talk from my experience. But we could get onto a whole philosophical
Oh my gosh, Matilda, forget that.
About the Bible. We won't be doing that. But thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, this was such a pleasure. Is there anything you'd
like to add?
I would like to add that we're going to have to get you on my podcast.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then we can continue the conversation. It's delicious.
I am more than happy to come along to your podcast. But thank you so much for joining me, and for a second time, because we have done this already. And if you want to check out Danielle's new podcast, you can follow the link in my show notes, because she's going to provide it for me before we end. Thank you again. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Danielle. Check out The Aligned Woman on Spotify and all podcast platforms. The show note will have the link to all Danielle's socials and her podcast, The Aligned Woman. The journey is going to be sensational. On another note, I want to thank every single person that has listened to this podcast over the last 12 months. We made over 2,000 people's number one spot on their Spotify Wrapped for podcasts. We hit the charts of Spotify, which is really hard to do. And I think we were in the charts for 6 weeks. I had a lot of problems with Spotify. It was quite amusing because I had to merge 2 Spotify accounts. I didn't realize I had 2. It was a whole thing. But as soon as I merged them, I hit the charts. So I showed my Spotify Wrapped was really, really exciting. And to get that for little old me, I was just blown away. So we hit 60 countries every week. I cannot thank you enough. That's about it for me this week. Join me next week for more Beyond the Broomstick. Don't forget to check out the events that I've got going on. They're all in the show notes. I have an empowerment course coming up. It's a 90-minute workshop to start you on your empowerment journey. I have a large group evidential mediumship happening in January. And also my Manifest in the New Year event, 30 minutes, $30. We're going to talk about how to get the best out of your 2025. Join me next week for more Beyond the Broomstick.